And let us now discuss salient cases with respect to the local government code. Okay, so of course our first discussion would be Pimentel versus Aguirre. Okay, so Pimentel versus Aguirre provides for the delineation on what is the power of the executive or the president of the Philippines with respect to local chief executive. So under Section 4, Article 10 of the Constitution, the President of the Philippines shall exercise general supervision over local governments. Okay? Provinces with respect to component cities and municipalities, and cities and municipalities in respect to component barangays shall ensure that the acts of their component units are within the scope of their prescribed powers and functions. So, the Chief Executive or the President of the Philippines wielded no more authority than that of checking whether local governments or their officials were performing their duties as provided by the fundamental law and by statutes. He cannot interfere with local governments so long as they act within the scope of their authority. Okay? So, of course, there was a definition on what's the difference of supervision over control. Okay? So note that even as of now, and I think this is even before in Pimentel versus Aguirre, we have the cases of Hebron versus Reyes and Lacson versus Roque. The Supreme Court has been already consistent that the President only has supervision over local heads, okay, or local government units, okay. Then we have Republic versus Province of Palawan, okay. So when we speak of Republic versus Province of Palawan, this refers to the discussion on territory. So of course, the local government code does not determine or define the term territorial jurisdiction. But provisions therein indicate that territorial jurisdiction refers to LGU's territorial boundaries. So under the local government code, the province is composed of a cluster of municipalities and component cities. A municipality's term is described as a group of barangays, while a city is referred to as consisting more than urbanized and developed barangays. Then in the creation of municipal cities and barangays, the local government code uniformly requires that the territorial jurisdiction of these government units be properly identified by its metes and bounds. That territorial jurisdiction refers to the LGU's territorial boundaries is a construction reflective of the discussion of the framers of the 1987 Constitution, who referred to the local government as the locality that is hosting the national resources and place where God chose to locate His bounty. So it is consistent with the language used by the CONCOM when they refer to the national as done within the LGU's respective areas. So to recapitulate, an LGU's territorial jurisdiction refers to its territorial boundaries or to its territory. The territory of LGUs in turn refers to their land area unless expanded by law to include the maritime area. Accordingly, only the utilization of natural resources found within the land area as delimiter is subject to the LGU's equitable share. So, ano ba nangyari dito sa case na to? Palawan used to be the contact person in the Malampaya project. So of course, for many years, Palawan has been discussing in the meetings and all of those compliances. Okay? Then eventually, oil was found in Malampaya. The problem is, Malampaya is not located in Palawan, or the oil fields that was discovered did not fall within the boundary of Palawan. It fell within the boundary of Oriental Mindoro. Okay? So, syempre, nung nakita na ng government na sa Oriental Mindoro yung natural gas, of course, the PNOC now and the other arms of the national government now discuss these matters now to Oriental Mindoro kasi sila yung LGU eh. Of course, Palawan felt aggrieved because, well, they were kind of left, okay? They were kind of left alone out of thin air. So, they filed a case which resulted to this case. Now, the Supreme Court clarified here, okay? The Supreme Court clarified here that, well, Palawan does not have that equitable share because, well, Malampaya is not located in Palawan. Of course, since the Malampaya gas fields are in the territory of Oriental Mindoro, Palawan cannot have a share because, of course, the natural gas, the wealth that is being discussed here, okay, the natural resources being discussed is not within the territorial jurisdiction of Palawan, okay. Then, of course, SEMA versus COMELEC. So this is yung creation ng ating municipalities and barangays as well as legislative districts. Let us be clear. This includes legislative districts, okay? So section 19 of this involves the creation of the supposed province of Sharif Kabunsuan, okay? This was later on declared as unconstitutional because while section 19 article 6 of your RA 9054 insofar as it grants the Armed Regional Assembly the power to create provinces and cities is void for being contrary to section 5 of your constitution, article 6 and section 20 of the appended ordinance in your constitution, okay? So only Congress can create provinces and cities because the creation of provinces and cities necessary includes the creation of legislative districts, a power only Congress can exercise under section 5 article 6 of your constitution and section 3 of the appended ordinance. The Armed Regional Assembly cannot create a province without a legislative district because the Constitution mandates that every province shall have a legislative district. Moreover, the Armed Regional Assembly cannot enact a law creating a national office like the office of a district representatives because the legislative powers of the Armed Regional Assembly operate within its territorial jurisdiction as provided in section 20 article 10 of the Constitution. Thus we rule that the act enacted is void in creating the province of Sharif Kabunsuan, okay? Then Navarro versus Ermita. Of course, there is this requirement that there should be compact and contiguous territory. I think that's in your constitution. That's also in your local government unit. It should be compact, contiguous, and adjacent territory. However, it does not apply when we talk about an island. So that rule applies if the issue is more or less a large area that is a proportion into a boundary. But if we speak of islands like here, in this case, Dinagat Islands and other islands like Camiguin or Catanduanes, it is an exception to that requirement because of course an island will always be something which is a particular location, okay? Since being a particular location, okay, it can be excluded from that compact and contiguous requirement. So that's only the exception there. If there is a province which is an island, that can be an exception to that compact and contiguous rule, okay? Then municipality of Makati versus municipality of Taguig. So this is yung Makati versus Embo Barangays case natin, okay? So, of course, Article 10, Section 10 of your Constitution provides that, of course, no province, city, municipality, or may be created, divided, merged, abolished, except in accordance with the criteria, okay, established by the LGC. But since the creation of the local government is essentially legislative in nature, well, courts generally cannot consider historical claims. So, remember, there was this proof in this case of who really owns Makati ba or who really owns the Embo Barangays, okay? So, of course, courts generally do not consider historical claims. It is the delimitation of the characters that have primacy in the resolution of the boundary disputes as they reflect the will of the Congress vis-a-vis the limits on the local government's territorial jurisdiction. Okay? Alright, then, of course, Abundo versus Comelec. So, this is related to election law. So, remember that your local government officials, they can only serve for 3 years. Okay? They can only serve for 3 years consecutively. Okay, now there's an issue on whether or not there's going to be an interruption. Okay, nowadays there is already a defined guidelines in Abundo versus Comelec because if I can recall before, the only guidelines when I was still taking the bar in around 2008-2009 was we're just rotating it in Socrates versus Comelec and Lonsanida versus Comelec. But now there are a lot of instances now, so it's now listed in Abundo versus Comelec. Of course, this is a enumeration of all of the cases. When would it be interruptive or when would it be not interruptive of the 3-year term? So, the common factor in determining whether or not the 3-year term limit may be considered as a would be determined as a possible interruption is the voluntariness. If it is voluntary on the part of the officer, okay? Example, you were filed a case before the ombudsman. That's not considered as a break in the continuation. So you cannot say that you can run for an extended term, okay? There might not be a break. But if the issue is there is involuntariness, like someone died in office, there might be a reset in the term, okay, of the term that you may run for office, okay? Okay. Then of course, Tebes versus Kem, we kind of discussed this on moral turpitude. Okay, Moreno versus Comelec, you have to note the concept of the phrase within 2 years after service of service sentence in the moral turpitude provisions of section 40 of your local government code. So if the candidate applied for probation, there is no imprisonment to speak about. Actually, the sentence is suspended. So it would not apply in this case. Okay, you cannot recall the 2 years. So a person who availed for probation may not be disqualified under the given premises. Okay, all right. Then of course, Navarro versus CA. This is yung composition with respect to the this is your composition with respect to vacancies in your sanggunian. Remember that in your local government units, the hierarchy is a bit organized. Okay, so for example, you have the mayor, vice mayor. The vice mayor is the presiding officer of the sanggunian. Then of course the sanggunian, they would be ranked accordingly to their rank of winning. Now, of course, in the sanggunian there would be party lines. Okay, now in the event that one of the officers or the officials die, okay, so for example, if one of the councilors died, okay, or for example the mayor died, of course the vice mayor would become the mayor. Then the number one councilor or board member would now be the vice mayor, because you need a presiding officer. Okay, so there would be a vacancy. How are you going to fill the vacancy? The vacancy should be filled with of course there are two aspects: who would appoint and what would be the manner of appointing. Insofar as the manner of appointing, Navarro versus CA clarified that it should retain the composition at the time of the change. So for example, if there are 4-2, okay, the 4-2 arrangement would still be retained, because the intent here is to keep the status quo at the time that there was a sudden change of personalities. Okay, then of course the other issue here would be more on who should appoint. So it's clarified in Pariñas versus Barba. Okay, so of course if there is a permanent vacancy caused by a sanggunian member, of course depends. It may be the president, it may be the governor, it may be the mayor. You just look at the guidelines in Pariñas versus Barba. Okay, then of course we kind of jump to disciplinary cases. Okay, so of course when we speak of disciplinary cases, you refer to section 60, but you have to note that there is this provision there that there should be a determination on the proper courts. So what does it mean to determine? So in Sangguniang Barangay of Don Mariano Marcos Bayobong Nueva Ecija versus Martinez, the Supreme Court held here, okay, that it's not the local official who would remove. Note that you needed an order of the court, because if there would be no order of the court, of course that might be a abuse of discretion on the part of the elective official, because what if the one is going to be removed is not a party mate, or maybe a staunch oppositionist? Of course the mayor or the chief executive may have unbridled discretion in removing. At the same time, it would be a violation of separation of powers if the chief executive will insist on the suspension, because it would create a situation where, of course, the mayor would now be the mayor, or who's the one who's going to remove some, who was the part to remove to office. He would have this, he would be above, or he would be doing an act which the courts can only determine, which is to try a case whether or not that person is guilty or not. So that would be a violation by itself of separation of powers. Okay, all right, then so there is a need for courts first to determine the liability. Only when, if the courts have already found any liability, that's the only time where the chief executive can now serve the service of such suspension or punishment as the case may be. Okay. Then we have, of course, Carpio Morales versus CA 6th Division. This is the Junjun Binay case. Okay. So this has been asked, I think, twice already in the bar. So note that in this case, okay, note that the Supreme Court has overturned already the Aguinaldo Doctrine and the Pascual Doctrine. So remember, particularly in the Aguinaldo Doctrine, it states there that if the official was elected, it serves as a pardon. It serves as a reset of all of the quote-unquote transgressions of the elected official as to his faults. Okay, because he was again renewed by will of the electorate. Okay, the Supreme Court clarified and abandoned Aguinaldo, practically stating that Aguinaldo is not in accordance with the constitutional mandate of public offices of public trust. Okay, so, and of course there is no legal basis that an election may absolve liability. It is not a manner in which allowed by us as a democratic and republican state. Okay, so that's your Carpio Morales versus CA. There's a reversal of the reversal of your Aguinaldo Doctrine. Okay, now of course other matters, of course, there are prohibitions when it comes to, okay, of course, let's first discuss about recall election. When we speak of recall election, okay, this refers to a ground for the removal of a current chief executive, and the ground is simple. It's just loss of confidence. Okay, when are you going to file your recall? You cannot file it on the first year. You always file your recall election on the middle part of the year. So after the first year, but not later than the last year of his term. That's the time where you can ask for a petition to the COMELEC. You petition the COMELEC that your mayor may be removed for loss of confidence. Okay, so that's your recall election. Now, of course, ordinances, of course, there a lot of cases. We kind of discussed this in police power. I think Price versus Magtahas. Ano pa ba yun? There are a lot of cases. There is a discussion on what constitutes a valid ordinance. Okay, you note those cases that, of course, for a valid ordinance, of course, there is a regularity in the business, and of course, the law that is being imposed should be reasonable. Okay, it should pass the muster of either police power or substantive due process. Okay, so that's your passing of your ordinance. Okay, then aside from that ordinance, we have this disqualification under section 89, section 90. So we have mayors and sanggunian. They cannot exercise their profession until pag sanggunian, you cannot practice your if sanggunian is in session. Okay, so that's the limitation. Of course, sa local chief executives, there is a supposed prohibition under the local government code that they cannot enter into business. However, the BGLF states otherwise. So apparently, some of the mayors that we know, sometimes they have businesses. Because, well, according to the BGLF, okay, which I think I would disagree because it's clear from section 89 and 90 of the local government code. But, well, that's their opinion. They said that, well, if it does not directly affect the affairs, you can be allowed to enter into business. Well, that's kind of iffy. Okay, so all right, then powers ng LGU, okay? Powers ng LGU. I think we kind of discussed dati sa Consti yung General Welfare Clause, okay? Of course, the power of eminent domain under Section 18. There is this discussion na, of course, you need to comply with certain facts like certain requirements like there should be a valid and genuine offer in writing sa eminent domain. Sa general welfare, as long as the limitation will always be it's reasonable, the implementation is reasonable, or if there is a scrutiny, it might not be subject to strict scrutiny. You can still validly use the general welfare clause, okay? Then of course, local government codes, they have the power to sue and to be sued, okay? Then of course, when we speak of local government codes, they have their own charters. Now, let's say that they missed some of the powers that they list. Note that if those powers are already listed in your local government code, there is no problem, okay? You can already you can, even if it's not in your charter, it can still be applicable because we have a general law, okay? So you can still, for example, you forgot the suability clause in your charter. You can still be sued because under the local government code, LGUs can sue and be sued, okay? Then I think that will be all for our local government code, okay? For now.